to protect the environment and get that gas out of that shale. It has been done around the world, and it's being done in other parts of this country, and we can do it here, and that would really help Northwest Pennsylvania. Northwest Pennsylvania. So we need to get rid of taxes on businesses too, this burdensome taxes. And again, the fair tax, consumption tax, will take away that part and help the businesses thrive. As many of you know, I'm sure, any taxes on companies and businesses are not paid by them. They're paid by you, all of you. It's passed through to the consumer, and so it's a tax. So we need to, if we don't tax companies and corporations, and I know Obama and Kathy Dahlkemper won't like that very much, but there will be more money to hire people, there will be more money to have sustaining jobs, and we won't be passing the cost on to the product, and the product will be less. So we'll go into all that in more detail later, I'm sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As you heard, tax incentives definitely are a way to help, and the majority of the employers in our region are small employers. I've been involved with benefits for 26 years. I've been involved on the administrative side for 10 years when I ran 2 health plans. We did studies. Northwest Pennsylvania, the average employer size was 11 employees. Just imagine if each of them hired 1 more employee. And none of the things that you're seeing taking place in Washington are really focusing on these small employers. Instead, we're hearing programs, Martha was just touching upon it, we've got mandates in a new health bill. When you look at some of the mandates that are in there, it's going to cause employers to let people go. I'll give you an example. Some of the employers that I have one that has 150 employees, 40 of them are full-time with benefits, 110 are part-time. I've talked with that employer, and he says the new bill, the way that it's set up and the amount of money he's going to have to pay towards benefits for part-timers, he said instead of having 110 people, I'm going to have 60 or 70, because I can't have my operating expenses over a certain level, so it's going to force more unemployment. You see people that have 30 employees, they're going to drop down to under 25 because then they can get tax credits. It's going to force more unemployment. These are some of the things that I'm concerned about. Those are the mandates that are out there that we have. Regulations, we have to pay attention to the ones that are there. I had an opportunity to speak to a couple of large employers up in Erie. One of them said he could hire 10 to 20 people right now. He has the need for it, but he's not hiring them because he's afraid of this administration. He's not sure what the taxes are going to be or any of the other penalties or mandates down the road. So he said until he has a clearer picture, he's not hiring. Stopped at another one with about 100 employees. And he said he just got a $7.4 million order. So I said, great, you're going to be bringing some people back to work, right? And he said, no, I'm shipping the business to Mexico. I set up a partnership down there. And he says, because of wages? And he said, no, I get to avoid a lot of regulations. That's why the work's being done there. Now, if it's safety regulations, I have a problem with that. If they're down there and bringing products back like China sending in lead paint, then I think that we have to avoid allowing those products to come back into the States. So, thank you.
Creating jobs. One thing at being an employee of General Electric for the last 24 years, out on the shop floor, one of the things that we look at are low-hanging fruit, something that's going to improve the process. That's what this administration and this current Congress do not want to look at. We have 2003 tax cuts that are set to expire at the end of this year. Increasing tax on business, increasing tax on the ordinary household, cutting that child tax back from $1,000 to $500. Because this administration doesn't care about us. They only care about how much tax dollars that they're able to spend, have to bring in. One of the things that I think, just to create an environment that the federal government can achieve, is to extend or make permanent those 2003 tax cuts. That would allow many of the businesses, I have to look over here because I don't want to seem like I'm not looking at this group, but I think that that would allow many of the small businesses in this country, which are the backbone of this economy, to say, now I can expand because I know how much I'm going to pay in taxes this year or next year or the next couple of years. This will get this economy rolling. The other thing that I think that needs to be looked at is reducing the corporate federal income tax. Corporations out there at the highest level pay 35% income tax on the goods. They're just a tax collector. They pass that, they just collect the taxes on the price of their goods from the customers who buy them. If we want to get America competitive globally, then we need to get our companies on the same level playing field as far as how much their products cost. If they're paying, if our products are 20–25% higher than what China's products are, and that's because of the federal income tax, that needs to be looked at. We need to look at cutting that tax to 15%, allowing our companies to compete globally, and that will increase this economy. That'll create jobs. Let's do that. That's the message that I'll take to Washington, D.C.
We've been talking quite a bit about domestic issues. Foreign policy. The U.S. has been relatively safe. Thankfully, the last number of years, there were terrorist strikes. But there are some terrorist cells around the world. There are some countries, Yemen, links there with terrorists and so forth. If there was a strike on U.S. interest, either at home or abroad, would you support military action against a country that harbors a known terrorist cell that would be traced back to? Mr. Jigger.
We have to be very serious about prosecuting the war on terror. And yes, I would be in favor of that. Because I think we have two fronts right now, one in Afghanistan and one in Iraq. And if we aren't successful in those two fronts, we're sending the wrong message to the world that we are not serious about protecting our own. I believe strongly that we should finish the jobs that are there, and we should bring our boys home. We have invested too much blood and treasure already to let this job go unfinished. We absolutely need to finish it, and we need to make sure that the signal going to the rest of the world that we will not tolerate that kind of action.
Thank you. I think you got to first of all realize why we're safe. We're safe because we've been economically strong, and we can support a military that is second to none in the world. But as we continue now with this spending and spending and spending, we're weakening ourselves so much that we're not going to be able to support that type of a military. And I think it's great to talk about all these things, but I will tell you this. You better have a strong stomach when you go into a room with these people. They interpret kind talk as weakness. So the old story was you walk softly and carry a big stick. I think with them, you talk strong and you do carry the big stick too. I would, of course, be in favor of anybody that attacks us. I think you have to hit them back twice as hard. I don't think you sit down, I don't think you go to a table and have some kind of a diplomatic exercise with somebody who does not value what you think or your core beliefs or what your religious beliefs are and walk away from that thinking that you made headway with these folks. Doesn't work that way. For us to be strong, we've got to be strong economically. And if we're not strong economically, we cannot continue to fund the machine that we have now that protects us and protects the rest of the world. I do think, at some point, we have to look at where we're getting involved because, quite frankly, we stick our nose in a lot of places. A lot of people look at that and say, I don't know why they're involved in our civil strife. I don't know why they're involved in our civil war. And we always say, well, because we're trying to protect your freedom and your liberty. Quite frankly, in some parts of the world, that's not the way it works. It's the strong man who wins. So, yeah, we need to be strong. We need to be strong economically. Again, it's the spending, stupid. We better keep our eye on the ball, not get confused with what it is we're trying to do. Basically, if you go back to the beginning of the federal government, it was to protect the people that live in our country. We have to make sure we stay strong that way. We have to stay strong not only militarily, but we better have, as I said earlier, an iron stomach when it comes to us, because you cannot have any type of a will or a mindset that does not approach it that way. It's the only way you win against an enemy like this.
We haven't been attack-free. We lost treasure in Fort Bragg to a terrorist.